My dear students, welcome to the course of Architecture and Town Planning. I am your teacher Ravinder Kumar Khyani, Assistant Professor, Department of Architecture and Planning, NIT University of Engineering and Technology, Karachi, Sindh, Pakistan. Today, the topic of our discussion is slum areas and their upgrading. In the visual, you can see how the slum areas look like and how the upgrading will take place. Let's discuss in our lecture. Introduction. The theme of current lecture is slum areas and their upgrading. This theme clearly identifies that there are two main aspects that would be discussed in current lecture. On the one hand, the discussion would be focused on understanding the slum areas, whereas on the other hand, the description will be given for upgrading of a slum area within an urban and regional context. In the following, all these issues are discussed and described in detail. Background of slum areas. It is a grave reality that in current urbanizing world, the number of urban poor are increasing with enormous speed. Whereas the formal sector's effort for providing housing to urban poor are inadequate due to absence of political will, extraordinary growth of population, and influx of migrants in urban areas. As a repercussion, there emerge slum areas and squatter settlements in the city. The term slum area and squatter settlement lead us to a variety of concepts. The depth in these terms is such a huge phenomena that it compels us to think of its process of development and address the numerous questions attached to it, such as why slum areas and squatter settlement emerge, how they are formed in a city, what are its socio-economic and physical implications with human abuse cycles. In order to understand this phenomena of slum areas and squatter settlements, one has to look at the existing housing situation, the formal sector's approaches in housing provision process, and development of squatter settlements via informal sector's mechanism. Let's discuss the definitions of squatter settlement and slum areas. Before going into further details of slum and squatter settlements or Kachi Abadis, it is necessary to understand the definition of squatter settlement and slum areas in city. What are squatter settlements? The Oxford Dictionary explains that a squatter settlement is defined as the occupied land by a group of settlers having no formal or legal title to the land occupied by them, especially one thus occupying land in a district not yet surveyed by the government. The term squatter settlement, if analyzed in some details, one can easily find that the word squatter means an unauthorized occupant of a land, whereas the settlement means the placing of a person and things in a fixed or permanent position. Therefore, one can conclude that when an unauthorized occupation of land occurs in any district or area, then the people or things fixed or place themselves on permanent basis to their occupied land. However, such occupied land removed or bulldozed by the authorities in the name of slum clearance or slum upgrading. As a repercussion, large number of people become displaced and millions of rupees invested in such occupied land go to waste. Thus, the issue of squatter settlement has a human and financial value or dimension attached to it. Slum areas. According to Mr. G.K. Hiraskar, there are three different definitions of slum areas. These are as follows. A slum is a predominantly an overcrowded area which is in an advanced state of decay where dwellings are unfit for human habitation. Or it is an area which lacks the basic amenities like water supply and drainage for standard living and where an unsanitary conditions prevails and disease flourish. Slum is a poverty-stricken area where there is high birth rate, infant mortality, illegitimacy, juvenile crime, delinquency, and death. Thus, represent the state of a hell on the surface of earth. Thus, it can clearly spell out that slum is a menace to health, safety, morality, and general welfare of the inhabitants. So, what we should do about it, or what to do about it? Squatter settlement slum areas are very common. According to rough estimates, in Karachi alone, more than 70% of population lives in more than 850 squatter settlements and slums. So, how to deal with this issue? It is a self-evident fact that squatter settlement and slum areas are growing with an enormous speed on the entire major urban centers of the world. Whether it is Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, Madras, New York, Tokyo, London, Rio de Janeiro, Sao Paulo, Shanghai, or any other large metropolitan area or megacity for that matter. The basic question always remains that how to deal with this ever-enlarging monster in which major victims are the human beings themselves. The answer to this and such type of question is to first understand the current situation of any context where slum and squatters are emerging. Secondly, what is the process of their making? Thirdly, who are the actors involved behind a squatter making drama? Fourthly, how to deal with this issue. Fifthly, what are the good practices in this regard which address this issue? And finally, what are the good practices that exist and needs to be enhanced in order to find out the solution to address this problem? Retrospect of Scottish settlement in Pakistan. Retrospect means history or historical development. After the freedom from British Raj in 1947, Karachi became the capital of Pakistan, and during the first 3 years after independence, a major influx of migrants come to Karachi. The population of Karachi at that time was 4 lakh inhabitants, whereas within 3 years of time, 6 lakh migrants came to Karachi who has an abject need for housing. Considering the housing demand, government allowed them to squatter in whatever feasible place for their survival. As a repercussion, an unorganized invasion of government land occurred and city filled with slums and squatter settlements, and city became very congested with a filthy built environment. Thus, in this way, the phenomena of squatter settlement emerged as a housing option for poor people who are in immediate need of a shelter. In all our cities of Pakistan, the government owns a lot of land, which is mainly belong to CBR or Central Board of Revenue and PBR or Provincial Board of Revenues in both inside and outside the cities. Likewise, there are other departments such as Pakistan Railways owns a lot of land in the country. In 1950 and 60s, the people came from India, occupied these government's land in the form of cluster planning of settlement. These were mainly known as unorganized invasion on the government land. In Karachi, this unorganized invasion not only occurred on government land, but private houses and buildings were also occupied by these migrants. Let's understand the cluster planning of squatter settlements in 1950s, known as unorganized invasion of the government land. The initial start of informal planning process. At first, there is a piece of land which is occurring along the road. Then at first, this road is built. Then smaller streets are developed, and major roads of settlement is one road, and then there are secondary roads and minor roads in the settlement. Then this become a unorganized invasion, and the road occurs as per housing which is developed on the land. Then there occurs another road. Now, major road connecting to a square settlement develops, then another squatter settlement develop on similar road. So in this way, this process go on and on. So this is the way of invasion of the government land. In 1958, Pakistan has seen its first martial law administration or military government. Now, military regime has a particular policy regarding these unorganized squatter settlements. They particularly do not like them at all in then capital Karachi. They call it and the scars on the face of the city, just like G.K. Vraskar in his book. And they like the city to be clean from these settlements. Therefore, they start bulldozing these illegal settlements and throw them out of the city. As a repercussion, informal sector get into shape in the city of Karachi. In the informal sector process, mainly government employees meet the middleman or dalal and through tough guys or gundas and give them protection and advice to make an unorganized invasion or kabza on the government's land. They jointly occupied land, subdivided it in haphazard map plots, and then sell it. In this way, occupation of land occurred in the 50s by the immigrants. However, later in 1960s, an organized invasion on government's land took place through the organized effort of informal sector actors. This illegal occupation of government land is popularly known as ISDs or informal illegal land subdivisions. This is given in the book Seven Reports on Housing by Arif Hassan. The process of this illegal subdivisions or ISDs has 9 major actors. Includes It includes the political top and administrative top, Mr. X, a middleman, police, fields personnel belongs to different institutions and departments, land grabbers or plot sellers, tough guys or and other service providers. All these nine actors have different roles to play in the squatter making drama. Their interrelationships are so strongly organized and in hierarchy that the squatter settlement established without any hindrance or spontaneously and in a peculiar manner that it has seems a solution to the provision of housing to the urban poor. See the following sketch of interrelationships and hierarchy between the actors involved in the squatter making process. At first, suppose there is a big 500 acres of land, which is a government land or a private land. Then there is a guy known as Mr. X or X-Man. He have link with the administrative top and other link with political top. Then informal planning process begins. Mr. X-Man have a subordinate or middleman or dalal. Then he have a link with the plot sellers or local land grabbers, and then he have the link with he is basically work in the settlement as a thalawala or building material supplier. So what happened that the plot sellers or land grabbers ask people and find out that whoever want the housing, then they contact these people and then take them in the trucks, and then they reach on the site and build their informal housing, a kacha, a jugis, vagera. And then the informal service providers such as water, electric, gas, and phone, these people involved. And then they develop the housing. When they construct the housing, the police emerge. An administrative top controls the police, and police come and ask them, how can you build on the government land or private land? So they did the bulldoze the buildings, and then what happened? There occurs people just again become houseless. So then there emerge tough guys, or the you can say the people in the with the contact with Thalawala or the middleman or dalal. And these people basically try to protect the settlement by fighting with the police. Then they get arrested, and then this subordinate or middleman or dalal go to police and get their bail. And then they contact the political top, and then they contact the field personnel from different institutions, and together they develop this you can say housing for the what happens that the subordinate contact the field personnel and he contacts the political top, and then together they legalize the settlements, and in this way an illegal settlement become a legal settlement. Well, the relationship emerged this relationship emerged in the 1960s and early 70s in the city of Karachi. It was defined to me by Professor Dr. John Vender Linden, who is from the Sweden, and he is the author in a training course on appropriate shelter strategy held at Sindh Kachiabadi Authority Office, Karachi in 1997. He taught us about how Kachiabadis develop in Karachi and what are its problems. Professor John van der Linden was actually from Free University, Amsterdam, Holland. And you can search him on the Google and you can find him that he have written many books on Kachiabadis in Karachi. And he was one of the major, you can say, housing researchers. Okay, let's go ahead. So, causes of slum and squatter settlement. There are 8 main causes for the formation of slums. First is rapid industrialization. The industrial growth and employment opportunities in the towns and cities have acted as a powerful magnets to attract the rural population to cities, and the workers employed in these factories and industrial areas generally make their habitation as near as possible to the place of work. They are low-wage persons and cannot afford daily traveling from distant places in the city. Hence, in a short time, the available land or open space is occupied by them and buildings without any proper planning. And this gives rise to the formation of these slums. Then the population growth. There is a great demand or supply gap between the tremendous growth of population and the construction of houses. These shortages manifest themselves in creating the slums. Then there is lack of zoning. If zoning regulations are not enforced in the early development of a town, there are chances for industrial area to encroach upon residential areas. Thus, very soon there emerge overcrowding with the formation of slums. Then there is physical and social decentralization. One of the major reasons for slum development is the physical and social decentralization, in which the rich and middle class people move out of the extension areas of city by leaving the poor in the overcrowded part of the town to make it more unsanitary. As a result, the slum colonies start mushrooming at a fast rate within the city. Then there is lack of education. If the inhabitants are lacking in education, they may not pay attention to improve the living condition and lose the civic interest and neighborhood spirit. They are therefore easily attracted by social evils and delinquency. As a repercussion, an apathy or very everything goes emerge in their behavior and the behavior of the people, and they make these slums. Poverty is another reason for slum making. One of the main causes for the slum formation can be described in one word as poverty. The meager and unsteady income leaves the family with no other choice but to direct all the energies in earning their daily bread and butter with some minimal clothing. It is difficult for them to pay heavy rent for the decent living, so they live in Kachiyabadis and squatter settlements and slums. Therefore, they move into the slum areas because there is nobody with a lot of black money to build decent houses for the slum dwellers and do something for afterlife. Then there is repair and maintenance. There is nothing wrong with old houses if they are looked after from time to time. But in Pakistan, repair and maintenance are the foreign words. Hence, most of these buildings remain in a state of decay to favor the formation of slums. Then the eighth reason is inadequate power. The lack of adequate powers and enforcing the same by the local authorities for the proper development of the town are also the reasons for the formation of slums. If preventive measures are not taken in time, the decent localities of the town will become slum of tomorrow. Even Islamabad, which is the planned capital, is growing beyond the bounds of the rigid planning in suburbs, and there emerge slums. Effect of slums on town, city, and urban life. There are seven major effects of slums on town life. One is people's health. Other is lack of socio-cultural life. Third is people's moral conduct. Fourth is people's performance and efficiency. Unhealthy conditions are created due to absence of public facilities like water supply, drainage, sanitation, and light. The subhuman conditions of the slums considerably affect the health of the lives of the people. And there is an absence of social and cultural life due to slum formation in the city. The mental outlook of slum dweller is affected due to its physical environment, and they develop low moral character, and as such, they are easily attracted to vice or delinquency, crime, and clandestine activities in bootlegging, narcotics, drugs, and adulteration. People performance and inefficiency. The overcrowding area is full of noise, smoke, and congestion. This affects considerably on working condition of people in offices, schools, and hospitals. The other reasons or effect of slum on town, city, and urban life is that acceleration of accident, lack of public spaces, and lack of civic sense. Due to slum development, the road tend to become congested. The children play on the road, so there is a danger of traffic accidents. With the development of slum, all open areas being attacked, and there emerge no open space for recreation or pure air. A slum dweller loses his ambition, civic interest, as well as wholesome neighborhood spirit. In short, a slum as such forms a black spot and spoils the healthy environment of the city as a whole. Thus, it becomes an abject need to improve the physical, social, and cultural life of the city. And preventive measures shall be taken to avoid the formation of slums. Precaution against formation of slums. Slums are health hazard to the cities, which later on create serious socio-economic and political problems. Thus, nip in the bud, or prevention is better than cure, are the watchwords against the formation of slums. First of all, the authorities should make provision for the healthy condition for living and working of the people. Then the subsidized cheap housing in sufficient numbers should be provided for the workers, laborers, and poor people with all civic amenities and utility services. The authorities should enforce the law that the employers should provide better housing facilities for their laborers. They should have power to control the rents by making Rent Restriction Act. They should arrest the substandard and unauthorized constructions on the vacant land. Proper wages should be provided to the laborers to improve their standard of living. The laborers in return should maintain and carry out repairs whenever required so as to keep the existing building in a good condition. The laborers should be properly educated to take care of the health, cleanliness, and general welfare of their families. Then there is the issue of slum clearance. Even after taking precautions, if the slums develop in a city, then there emerge only one option for the authorities, and that is slum clearance. The process of slum clearance is done with two basic methods. One is improvement method, other is complete removal method. Slum improvement method. One methods of not aggravating the housing shortage is to take up the slum improvement scheme. This method has an added advantage of not causing much disturbance to slum dwellers. As the slums are developed due to poor drainage system and unhealthy condition, hence the drainage arrangement is modified and improved, and public utility services like water, drainage, electricity, gas may be provided in the affected area. In slum areas, the housing conditions are also fairly good, and only a few houses need some improvement to make them slightly more habitable. Further, any impending structures coming in the way may be removed. Low portions of the old slums like ditches or swamps may be filled, and then the existing roads may be widened. With proper planning and improvement works, it is possible to make the slums slightly more habitable at the minimum cost. Then there is another method of upgrading is slum removal method. In this method, area may be completely cleared out of the existing locality. In this case, only such buildings which are really good condition are retained, and all other dilapidated structures are pulled down. Transit camps in the form of temporary buildings near the slum area should be constructed to accommodate these displaced people in the process of slum clearance. Any stinking factory that occurs in slum areas may be shifted to some other more suitable place. The areas thus cleared up may be used as open spaces and as sites for new buildings. Part of it may also be used for widening of the streets. Then care should be taken to keep the density within the amenities such as water supply, drainage, sanitary arrangement, electricity and gas. Lastly, the legal aspect of this scheme while shifting the population should also receive due attention. The legal aspect include publication of the slum clearance scheme, acquiring the land, paying compensation to the people for acquired land, making accommodation for the displaced persons in the process of slum clearance. The slum eradication by this method proves to be very costly, but it is certainly worthwhile to bear it in the interest of community of the city. Financial assistance for the slum clearance scheme. The financial assistance for slum clearance by the federal government to local government was provided in 1960s. The main principle of the scheme were as follows. There should be minimum dislocation of the slum dweller. They should be rehoused in nearby area of the existing site. To keep down rent within paying capacity of the slum dwellers, and emphasis is given on the provision of minimum standards on environmental hygiene and utility services rather than on construction of costly structures. The government provided financial assistance to local government in the form of block grant and block loans, and the local government was free to make its use as per their requirement. The federal government and local bodies can provide dwelling units with via open developed plots, skeletal houses, the pakka tenement, the hostel dormitory type, and night shelter to slum dwellers. These units will be provided with independent lavatory, pakka bath, and washing platforms connecting with the drains and taps. This issue was that the provincial government was inherited and provincial autonomy was demanded by the people. That is the main reason. The financial assistance for slum clearance scheme. The financial assistance was admissible under the scheme, which is repayable by slum dwellers in 25 years with the rate of interest fixed by the central government from time to time. Such colonies will be provided with water mains, drainage, sewerage, community baths, latrines, water taps, properly paved roads with adequate width, street lighting. The government of Pakistan has also approved a scheme in 1960 to remove the jugis and jhopris, which was applied on the into Karachi. The plots were given on lease for 99 years on paying the cost of 50% subsidy in a lump sum or in 10 equal annual installments. Likewise, central government has made all possible efforts by providing financial assistance to slum dwellers for the improvement of their living condition. Analysis and evolution. The reason behind discussing this case study was that in the textbook of town planning, such type of solutions are given for slum clearance and upgrading. which become obsolete, and currently such type of solutions are not applicable. Whereas the local authorities still believe in such type of temporary solutions for slum clearance and upgrading and propagate in their slum clearance and upgrading program. Let's analyze why such type of slum clearance and upgrading programs are obsolete. First of all, one must understand the existing ground realities. In 1992, a report published by Independent South Asian Commission on Poverty Alleviation, which estimated that there are 330 to 340 million people in South Asia who live under the poverty level. It means that around 30 to 40% of total population of South Asia lives in below poverty line. It is also a reality that every day in Asia, the urban population increases by the equivalent of one city of 140,000 people, whereas it is expected that urban population shall double in the next 20 years. The cities have so far absorbed the growing number of population and settlement with varying quality of living. However, urban growth has resulted in a negative growth of squatter settlement and slums. In every city in developing countries, there is a large population of less affluent people who reside in squatter settlement. A study from the United Nations of 1994, ESCAPE, predicted that 60% of the urban population of Asia shall be living in slum and squatter settlement by the year 2000. Whereas currently the number of squatter settlement and slum dwellers has increased from this number a lot. For instance, in Karachi only there are more than 850 squatter settlements with which 70% of urban population live. And it is estimated that by the year 2020, total 80% of population shall be living in slum and squatter settlement. Thus, in a city where 80% of population living in slum and squatter settlement, can there be any solution like slum clearance with prescribed improvement method or complete removal method? No, this answer is definitely not, because 80% housing stock neither can be bulldozed completely nor replanted comprehensively by pulling down all the dilapidated structures. The only option available is muddling through, or a gradual and incremental improvement with the support of public, private, and informal initiatives. Because no financial assistance can be equivalent to human suffering and decades of hard work in building the housing by poor or making of squatter settlement and slums. Even then, large number of evictions still takes place in most of the urban centers in Asian countries. In 2008, the age-old project of Lyari Expressway in Karachi may evict around 25,000 families with just compensation of rupees 50,000 each, from which a decent toilet is difficult to build. The evictions may cause three basic impacts on the affected forceful eviction. Affected of forceful eviction. First is physical, that is economic, and third is psychological. It takes around 2 decades to recover from the misery of eviction from people's mind. The eviction reduces the housing stock of city and ruins the economic value of housing, which may be small in real terms, but for an individual it's a very big thing. The eviction detaches the Scotland from the employment opportunities which are usually in nearby areas or within the settlement itself. The eviction also uproot the community and break their social and cultural activities, which function as an economic and psychological safety net. The home is the center of everybody's lives, and forceful eviction from house is a very traumatic experience, especially for children. Its impact never goes from their memories. While eviction is a traumatic experience in itself, the most harmful impact of eviction may actually be the fear of being. It makes people fatalistic, with lost confidence in themselves and discouragement from improving their housing. It cannot be denied that there are occasions such as major infrastructure projects where eviction cannot be avoided or deny the landowners the right to evict. However, it is a reality that land acquisition mostly takes place without compensation. Thus, it is quite necessary that eviction should not take place without a dialogue and solution which are applicable to both parties. Because squatters have often lived on the land for a very long time, and they have their by acquitted an informal right to land due to their efforts and hardship of decades for the development and investment on the land. Whereas their nostalgic value are also attached with the settlements they live in for a long period of their life. Thus, there is a need to develop a policy regarding slum and squatter settlement while upgrading the city and its slum areas. Conclusion. On the basis of analysis and evaluation of slum and squatter settlement issues, following conclusion can be drawn and policy recommendation can be made. The major issue regarding provision of housing to poor is land, which is a pure gold. As far as squatter, the private sector institutions are concerned. As the land in urban area is considered a commodity, through which money can be made. So, an appropriate land management is an abject need of the time, and provision of land to poor by formal sector initiatives cannot be avoided. As the population influx to urban areas reach to its zenith, the scarcity of land is a grave reality, and access to land is required by the poor through any means. As the poor people cannot have access to land through formal sector initiatives, therefore they opt for informal sector processes and occupy the governmental land and make slums and squatter settlements. It is also a reality that in some cases the formal sector itself involved in making squatter settlements due to their failures in provision of housing to the poor people. So once the slum and squatter settlement develop, the major issue which requires immediate attention is the provision of services and infrastructure, which is usually obtained by a squatter at a very high cost. Furthermore, it is a bitter reality that people influx to urban centers constitutes and shall continue, continues and shall continue, and it cannot be eliminated. And through formal sector processes, housing cannot be provided to poor of urban communities. So this is like a dream for the government to provide housing to the poor. It's not possible. Thus, what options and strategies are available to formal sector of the government? This is the question which needs to be answered in an appropriate manner. For that matter, policies regarding slum and squatter settlements by different countries and solutions given by different institutions should be analyzed, on the basis of which recommendations can be made. There are two major case examples which can be cited with respect to appropriate policy option for squatter settlement and slum upgrading. One is the Guided Land Development, Jakarta, and other is the KIRP or Kachi Abadi Improvement and Regularization Program of Sindh Kachi Abadi Authority, Karachi, Pakistan. Policy recommendation. Number one, assist poor to build housing by providing technical and financial support and affordable land. The program applies reasonable and standards such as, for example, a minimum plot size of 20 square meters should be provided. Guide transformation of slum and informal settlements into functional urban structures. Provide infrastructure and services at minimum cost with cross subsidy between high and low income groups. Plots adjacent to access roads be charged considerably higher than the plots with access to only a footpath. Stimulate development of small scale industries and other work opportunities. Then set up special organization with the government for efficient and quick land registration and land titling. Set up a special implementation body within each project area consisting of local regional government representatives and as well as development consultants. The development consultant should act as an intermediary between the private sector and the local community and do the community planning. The functions of the implementation body are to promote, regulate, facilitate, and coordinate the development. Finally, form a management board consisting of a local government and residents initially represented by an NGO to solve project management problems or more directly. The final thought that I have for you is that it is necessary to recognize that slum area and their upgrading is an issue of humanitarian, functional, because a healthy workforce is more productive and political nature. Because adequate shelter is a basic human right. There are 192 nations in the world who have signed the International Covenant on the Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. The covenant provides a legal obligation for its signatories to provide adequate shelter among the other things. Though the world is changing and government policies and priorities are also changing, however, it is a reality that if governments wishes, they will be more efficient if they act as a catalyst and facilitators to informal processes in provision of shelter to the poor. It is now proved, or rather, it is a proven fact that housing the poor as well as squatter settlement and slum upgrading is actually more political and institutional issue rather than technical. As most of the observers of squatter settlement have realized that people will gradually upgrade their housing over time. They invest their capital and labor and mobilize their social network if they are provided the opportunity and their housing is considered legitimate. Thus, the three major actors must come together: people, politicians, and professionals. It will make the world a better place to live without squatter settlement and slums and improved and upgraded settlements. Thank you very much for learning about slums and its upgradation. These are the references for this lecture. I must end my lecture here. Thanks for watching. For lecture notes, visit my blog www.townplanninglectures.blogspot.com. Okay, that's all, my dear students. The town planning course is finished with this lecture. I really thank you very much for learning the town planning. and hope to see you in the next class or next lecture. Wish you good luck and goodbye.